What's up, everyone? Welcome to the weekly REI lesson. I'm Greg Helbeck. I've bought and sold over 100 properties, and my goal is to be as valuable as possible to people watching this video. Got a lot of experience, done deals in two of the harder markets in America, actually three of them, but mainly I operate in San Diego and in the New York area, so two difficult markets. So my goal is every week to share with you a real estate investing lesson that has helped me, so hopefully you can watch this video and it will help you. So today I want to talk about why it's important to get a seller's price and how to get a seller's price, because there's a few schools of thought. The first school of thought is that if you don't ask for the seller's price and you just make them an offer, if you anchor them really low, you'll get a better deal. And I have tried that and I've done that. And I have found that statistically speaking, that doesn't work that well, because at the end of the day, selling is important, understanding how to sell is important, but real estate, at least when you're buying and selling properties, a lot of it is a negotiation, right? So when you're negotiating, you're basically going back and forth on the price and the terms. So I've always found that if I know the seller's asking price, even if it's high, even if they're trying to anchor me, which is set a high price, so I make a good offer, I want to know where I stand and I want to know that price, because maybe 1 out of 20 people are gonna give you a really low price and you can get a smoking hot deal, and you don't have to sell that hard because they told you what they wanted, and assuming they're actually committed to selling the property, it can be a pretty easy negotiation. So I always want the seller to give me their price, especially when you have a motivated seller and the seller is going to be selling at a discount. If they know that and they are aware of that, and they are in reality with their situation, if they can give you a price, it is so much easier to close a deal instead of having to hope that your offer makes sense. So when you have a real motivated seller, when they tell you their price, it makes your job a lot easier. So anyway, I believe that you should always get the seller to tell you a price, or at least make your best effort and attempt to get that done, because it just will make the whole negotiation a lot easier. So how do you do that, right? So a lot of people are probably saying, Greg, that makes sense, I understand, but how do you actually do that? And I'm just crossing the road right now, so bear with me as I doing a little walk and talk here. Anyway, how do you get the seller's price? How do you actually have the seller tell you what they want for the house? So few ways you can do it. Not too complicated, really requires persistence a lot of the time. The first way is to simply ask the seller what they want for the property, whether you're buying a commercial building or a house or a condo. I buy all those types of real estate. Ask the seller what they want for the damn property, right? Hey, what do you want for the property? What do you want for it? And if you have a good relationship with the seller on the phone, or you're at their house or in their building, and they're cool and they tell you you're not full of shit, they'll just probably tell you. I mean, they'll tell you maybe 7 out of 10 times, right? And then you know where you stand, and you can at least have that information to start the negotiation. Second way is if you want to be a little more gentle with the seller. You want to be a little more kind of delicate with them. You don't want them to get pissed off that you're asking for their price. Usually they don't get pissed off because they're the one calling you, but you want to say it like this. Hey, seller, if I were to make this property go away and you don't have to worry about it anymore, you don't have to worry about the taxes, you don't have to worry about, maintaining the yard or whatever, insert their problem. If I were to make this the easiest sale of your life, close in cash and close in 30 days like you said, what number would you think is fair? What do you think is a fair number if I can do all these things that you told me about? So, but what you're doing is you're trying to get them to basically tell you what a reasonable number would be, considering the fact that you're going to provide a lot of value to them, right? Because maybe in their head they're thinking, well, I want 500 grand for the house. But if you pre-frame it, it's called pre-framing. If you say, hey, if I bought the house as is, closed with all the junk inside, and closed in 30 days in cash, if I were to provide all that value, what number you think is reasonable given that? Maybe in their head they're thinking 500, but because you pre-framed with all the value you're going to bring, all the value you're going to bring to the table, all the benefits they're going to get, maybe they'll say 490, right? And now all of a sudden they started to talk themselves down, and you can negotiate from there. So that's another way you can do it, is you pre-frame the seller. And then the third way is, if they don't really go for any of those, what you can do is you can ask them what the other homes or buildings or units in the area are selling for. So if you don't want them to get pissed that you're asking for their price, you can say, hey, what are your neighbors' houses selling for, right? What are those neighbors going for? What are they getting for their house? What is the house across the street, what'd that sell for? Usually it's probably gonna be similar. And then they're going to tell you, most likely, because they might not want to tell you what they want for their property, but they have no problem telling you about other properties because it doesn't really affect them. So if I have trouble, or if my team's having trouble getting a price out of the seller, we'll say, hey, what are some similar homes in your area going for? And then they'll say a number, usually, hey, in between 5 and 600K. Okay, so given the condition of your property, you know, what do you think would be reasonable? Would you think that's fair, or do you want less or more, whatever? But you're trying to get them to at least give a number so you have a starting point in the negotiation. And then the last way to get the price, if they won't tell you anything, is you ask them what they would not sell for. So that's one of my favorites. We've gotten some smoking deals by doing this. And it's basically saying, hey, I actually say it just like they normally say it. Usually they'll say, I want to sell you my house, but I'm not going to give it away, right? So the way I ask it is I'll say, hey, what price would make you feel like you're giving your house away at? And then they'll tell me usually what they won't sell for. Oh my God, I would never sell it for 300 grand. I would never sell it for 400, whatever. And now you're telling them they're telling you what they wouldn't sell for. So those are some ways you can get the price out of the seller. If you apply a few of these strategies or tactics, whatever you want to call them, you're going to have better odds of getting a price out of the seller. And hopefully, by watching this video, you're going to realize why it's important to get price out, because it really makes the negotiations a lot easier. I'm going to give you a quick story to wrap this point up, and then I'll end the video. This was last year, so it's 2022 right now. This is back in 2021. We had a seller where he was in Oceanside, California. Name was Raymond Rockers, nice guy. Not that motivated, not that distressed, actually not distressed at all. Smart guy, knew what he was doing. But because I didn't make him an offer, I got a price from him, and then I negotiated based on his asking price. I got a smoking deal. We assigned the contract and made like $70,000, I think $72,000, a big wholesale deal. But he called in, he had a property for sale, he wanted to sell, he had a pretty good timeline. And he told me his price, and he wanted $500,000. And honestly, the ARV on that house was like $750,000. So the thing was worth $750,000 fixed up. He wanted $500,000. So in theory, I could have paid the guy like more. I could have paid him $550,000, and it still would have made money. But I said, Rocky, what do you want for your property? What do you think a reasonable price would be, considering I'm going to pay cash? And he said, I want $500,000. So right off the bat, let's say I was going to start at $550,000. Because in San Diego, like, you know, it's really competitive. So you got to usually go forward with a strong offer. He said, I want $500,000, so it saved me $50,000. I ended up getting it for $490,000. So I talked him down a little bit. But either way, he told me his price, and it made that whole transaction a lot smoother to close. So that's a lesson from the trenches. So hopefully you got value from this video. If you did, share this with a couple people if you think they'll benefit from it. And I'm going to keep putting these videos out. So if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on Instagram or Facebook, you know, like this and share this. And hope you got value from this. And I'll see you on the next lesson. Peace out.